Okay, in this video, I'll be going over how to simplify radical expressions. So let's start off kind of easy. Let's just consider the square root of 25, right? We all kind of know that this is just going to be 25, but why is it 25? Um, so the way we can break this down is we know there's a hidden little 2 here, first of all, for the square root symbol. So that kind of tells us we're looking for groups of 2 that make up 25. So what we can do is we can break 25 down into its prime factors. And it's kind of easy, it's just 5 and 5. So notice here we have a group of fives, 2 5s. And so what ends up happening is we can bring those out of the square root and we just are left with 5. So that's how that works. So let's try something a little tougher. Let's consider the square root of 42. So this isn't a perfect square, so it's a little kind of tougher. So we're going to do the same thing though. We're going to break this thing down into its prime factors. So since this is even, I'll just start with 2. So we'll have 2 and 21, and then 3 and 7. Oh, looks like I picked a bad example. Let's try another one. Let's try the square root of 28. That should be better. So let's break 28 down into its prime factors. 2 and 14, and 2 and 7. So notice here we have a group of 2's. So we can pull those 2's out of the square root, and whatever's left over will remain in the square root. So that's just the 7. So simplified, the square root of 28 is going to be 2 times the square root of 7. So let's try something that isn't the square root of something. Let's try the cube root, for instance. Let's try square root of 135. Or sorry, the cube root of 135. So this is going to tell us we're going to want to look for groups of 3 of the same number. So we're just going to do the same thing again. We're going to break 135 into its prime factor. So right away I can tell this thing's divisible by 5 because it ends with a 5. So 135 divided by 5 is 27. And then we can break that down into 3 and 9. And finally 3 and 3. Notice here the 5 doesn't get broken down anymore. That's why they're not doing any more factors of 5 because it's prime. There's nothing that'll go into 5. So notice here we have a group of these 3's. There are 3 3's here. And we're asked to find the cube root of this thing. So that's exactly what we're looking for. So we get to bring out this 3 outside the cube root, and whatever didn't have a pair or a group of 3, sorry, will remain in the cube root. So our final answer would be, 3 times the cube root of 5, because the 5 is all that's left over. Let's do one more. Let's try it with some variables. Clear all. So let's try the 4th root of x to the 9th. Oh, it's really bad 9. X to the 9th, y to the 12th, and z to the 3rd. Let's try that. So what we can do, it's kind of a little bit of a different process, but the way I would look at this, right, x to the 9th really just means x times x times x times x. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So we can do the same thing. We're going to pair this up, and notice we've got the fourth root, so we're going to look for groups of 4. So here's a group of 4 right here, and here's another group of 4. So we have 2 groups of 4 of these x's. So we'll get to bring out 2 x's. Then I'll leave some more room here. So then we're going to end up with sorry, this shouldn't be a 2x. This should be a x squared. And then we get to do this, can play the same game with the y's. Y to the 12th is really just y times y times y times y times y. So when we have 12 y's, one more. And so here's a group of 4, here's a group of 4, and here's a group of 4. Notice how we have 3 full sets of y's. So we're going to end up with y to the 3rd. And so now we've got z to the 3rd, which equals z times z times z. We don't have a full group of 4 z's, so that's going to end up staying there, staying inside the 4th root. So our final answer is going to be x squared times y to the 3rd times the cube root of this leftover x we've got here, this little leftover x, times, and then there's going to be 0 y's left over, and there's the 7 or 3 z's that got left over as well. So this would be our final answer, x squared times y to the 3rd times the 4th root of x times z cubed.